Hey, y'all, it's Michelle with SLP Full Disclosure, and I'm so excited to have you guys joining us today. This is actually going to be part 2 of a series. So if you guys have not listened to the podcast with Jana White, she is a parent of a child with disabilities. If you have not listened to that podcast, I encourage you to go back and listen to that because we mention a very special person while we're talking in that podcast, and that is who we have joining us today. Today, we have Mary White, a young woman that I met when she was just 1 year old, and I have had the joy and the privilege of watching her grow up into a beautiful young woman. She just had a birthday and turned 25. So, Mary White, welcome to SLP Full Disclosure, and thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm so excited that you're here.
Me too. I'm excited.
So everyone needs to know that Mary is an old hat at interviews. Mary does lots of speaking engagements that if you listen to the first podcast with her mom, you know. But I want to give you guys just a little bit of background with Miss Mary before we get started. Mary White is an advocate for people with disabilities and enjoys sharing her story. She has a series of YouTube videos called The Awesome Mary Show that focus on living with a disability. Her videos are informative, inspirational, and humorous. She graduated from Mississippi State University's Access Program in 2023. Mary has been recognized as a leader in advocacy, including the Self-Advocate of Distinction Award in 2024 from ARC of Alabama, the Jeff Ridgeway Advocacy Award, the Vulcan Community Award, and was named one of Alabama Public Television's Young Heroes. Mary lives in Birmingham, Alabama, and is currently working at Children's Hospital of Alabama. Wow. Listen to all of your accomplishments. How proud are you of yourself, Mary White?
I never thought I would really get this far, but I'm really proud of myself.
You should be very proud of yourself. So, Mary, you know that my podcast, and when we get closer to the end, we're going to talk about all the wonderful things you do, but this podcast is for speech language pathologists. And you've had your share of experience with speech pathologists, haven't you?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was your favorite speech pathologist of all time?
I guess you.
Ah, yes, that's the right answer. I love it. So I had the privilege of, like I said, working with Mary in early intervention, which I know you don't remember that because you were just 1 year old. But I also got to work with you when you were in high school, when you and Mia went to high school together. And you remember the things that we used to do in speech? What did we do when you came to speech with me? We practiced your speeches, remember?
Oh, yeah, we practice my speeches for when I go to talk to schools.
That's right, because that's about the time that you started really getting involved in public speaking.
Yeah.
Did you know that you always wanted to be a public speaker?
I did not actually. Like my mom said, but my Aunt Becky really inspired me to be a public speaker before she passed away because she was a professor at UNA. So that really helped me.
Well, I've known you your entire life, Mary, and you are very much a social butterfly. You can talk to anyone, and you do an amazing job of sharing your story. And that's what I want you to do today. I want you to tell our listeners your story because I think it's important for the speech pathologist listening to understand the impact that we have on the students that we work with. And I know that our relationship is very unique in that not all speech pathologists get to watch their students grow up into beautiful young women and go off to college and experience all of the wonderful things that they do, but I did. And so I wanted to share that. So, Mary, tell us your story.
So, my name is Mary White, and so basically my story is I have hydrocephalus, which is fluid on the brain, and doctors told me I they didn't know if I would be able to walk or talk. I had physical therapy, speech therapy, and I walked and I talked and I spoke. I say now I spoke when I was born, and I just never stopped talking, basically.
I would have to agree with that because your communication skills and your social skills are definitely a strength for you. You've got so many wonderful things about you, Mary. Tell us what it was like going. I know you have a very special story about someone special in my life that you like to talk about when you were at Hand in Hand. Tell
Yeah.
our listeners about that. So, Hand in Hand is an early childhood inclusive program where Mary went to preschool and she was in a classroom with her peers, some of which were typically developing and some of which who also had disabilities. So, tell us what that was like for you, Mary.
So when I was at Hand in Hand, it's called United Ability now,
Mm-hmm.
but at the time it was UCP. But when basically I was in a class with typical pills and people that also had disabilities, and it was very inclusive. So that's when they changed it to United Ability.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was fun because she went to speech therapy with me, and she
Who went to speech therapy with you?
my friend Mia.
And for those of you listening, her friend Mia is my daughter. So she would go to speech therapy with you. What else would she do?
She would help me. She said, "Come on, Mary, let's walk up the stairs," and she she helped me climb up the stairs.
I love it. And you guys have been friends for a really long time.
Yes, we have.
Yes. And I'm hoping that Katie and everyone can share some pictures of you and Mia when you guys were little. Because I know that when you do your presentations, you do share about that Mia would go with you to
Mhm.
there. So
I do.
it just goes to show that having that typical peer, because Mary, you didn't like going to physical therapy, did you?
I did not.
Why didn't you like physical therapy? Was
I
it
will
hard?
tell y'all why.
Okay, tell us why.
Because I felt like they were chopping my legs.
Was it just hard?
Because it was hard. It was hard, but I don't know how I remember that. My mom's like, "You remember that?" And I'm like, "I remember the weirdest moments." But I just didn't like it when they took my braces off my
Mhm.
legs.
Yeah.
But
So
that's the main hard part that I didn't like. The rest, I think I really enjoyed.
yeah. So it helped you to have someone like Mia go with you to physical therapy, and Mia didn't have braces on her legs, and so she was just there kind of as moral support, just as
Yes,
your friend to
she
say, "It's
was my
right."
cheerleader.
Yes, she was your cheerleader. I love that.
And she's a natural cheerleader. So.
Yes, yes, thank you. You're so sweet. So, Mary, we've talked about you going to Hand in Hand and preschool, and you had speech therapists there when you were in high school.
Yes.
You and I worked together working on your speeches, but you also shared that you went to Mississippi State. So, tell us about your experience with Mississippi State University. And for those of you listening, you know that we take our football very seriously here in the South. And I just have to say that I graduated from Ole Miss. My friend Mary went to Mississippi State, and that is the biggest school rivalry in the state of Mississippi, but we don't hold it
I
against one
know.
another.
We don't really talk about that part.
We don't. We just sweep that under the rug. So,
Yeah.
Mary, tell us about the Access program. When did you know you wanted to go to college?
I didn't really know college was an option for me until like one of my friends, I think, told me about this program called the Access program, and we both checked out Auburn, but it was twice expensive than MSU. So
Okay.
we're like, MSU, yeah, let's go. And then did the interview process, and then I found out I was going to college.
That is amazing.
And
Were you nervous?
I was little nervous my freshman year, but after a while, like friends helped me out, and then we learned about all different types of life or life skills that really helped me for the future. So basically, that was the access program to help you like learn more about the future. And then we also had classes with the typical students too. So we had access classes, and then we also had internships each semester. And then you had a college coach with you
Okay.
that guided you through the way
I love that.
each year.
Now, the interview process, that was pretty tough.
Mhm.
Like, they don't just let everybody in.
No,
So,
no.
you had to go through a lot to get into that program.
Yes, ma'am.
And your first year, you lived in a dorm. Did you
Mhm.
live in a dorm? You lived in an apartment at one point.
I lived in a dorm for my freshman, sophomore, and junior year, and then I lived in an apartment my senior year.
Wow. And through that access program, you talked about the life skills. So, what were your life skills classes like? What were some of the things that you learned about?
So we learned about budgeting. I think that was freshman year, freshman year, we learned about budgeting and just about money and how wants and needs are important.
Yes, it's something that you want versus something that you need. I
Yeah.
love that. So,
Yes.
just how to handle your money, how to spend your money
Mhm.
wisely on and understanding that every month you're going to have your rent due and your electric due and your cell phone, and you've got this amount of money. So, those wants and needs are super important. I love that. What were your internships like? What did you learn in your internships that you were talking about?
My internships, I learned different jobs I didn't like, different jobs I really liked. My freshman year, or after, I think it was sophomore year, I worked at Barnes and Nobles, and I didn't like working at a store.
You didn't. So you knew that was a career path that you did not want to go down. So it
Yeah.
gave you opportunities to work in different things. What other kind of internships did you do? Did you ever work in like the food industry?
I worked at TK Martin Center
Okay.
at the front desk. So basically, it's kind of similar to United Ability in a way,
Okay.
but I work at the front desk and it's all disability. It's a preschool program.
Oh, okay. So you were working at the front desk greeting people as they
Yeah,
came in and helping
and
getting
I really enjoyed that.
you really enjoyed that. So maybe that is what prepared you for your life after college.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
tell up our listeners about your job now that you have because they are going to love it.
So now I work at the speech and healing clinic at Children's Outpatient Clinic, and I work with speech and healing at the speech and healing clinic, and
Uh-huh.
I clean a lot of toys
You clean a lot of toys, but
at
you
those
also
therapy sessions.
yeah, but I'm sure that you're also the social greeter for some of our kiddos that are coming into that clinic and
Mhm.
working and talking with the speech therapist. And that is amazing. And you got that job because you did a speaking engagement, right?
Yes.
So how did you get that job? Where were you speaking?
So I was speaking at a Journey of Hope, a United Abilities event,
Mhm.
and I was one of the MCs, and
Mhm.
I just told my story there about United Ability and how it impacted me as a person and who I
Mhm.
am today.
I love that. And then they reached out to you and
Yes,
offered you the job, right?
yes, ma'am. They
I
did.
I love it. Listen to that. Yes, ma'am. We know we've got a true Southern girl on our hands.
Oh, yeah.
Love it. So do you feel like the Access program really prepared you for your job that you have now? Because it seems like you got to do a lot of different internships and you found things you did like and things that you didn't like. So how did that program prepare you?
I feel like the Access program helped me prepare for like independence and like especially doing my laundry on my own. My
Mm-hmm.
mom loves that.
I bet she does.
So just learning a lot of different life skills and also job skills, not and like everyone my friends like what told me, I wish every college student can learn about it. Like,
Right. I think even those kids not in the Access program that are typical kids at Mississippi State need to learn how wants and needs and
yeah,
how to budget and do their
yeah.
own laundry. I agree with you, Mary, 100%.
Yeah, so it really taught me a lot. And I still, from this day, at the grocery store, do wants and needs about, I don't need this,
I love that. I love that. So, tell us, so you got this full-time job, but you also have lots of speaking engagements. So tell us about some of the speaking engagements you've had. You mentioned earlier you were an MC, and I came to an event probably in 2018 where you were an MC for United Ability or something. I remember Mia and I came. So you're MCs at events. What other kinds of speaking engagements do you do? What are your favorite ones to do?
My favorite ones are probably older kids because they ask more like adult questions
Mm-hmm.
and more questions.
Yeah.
I love it all. Like, I love talking to elementary school. The funny question I get is, what's a shot?
A
That
shot.
they mean shot,
Shot.
but they
Yeah.
say shot. I'm like, that was kind of hard if I had a shot in my head.
Yes, absolutely. Speaking of that, Mary, and I wanted to get to this earlier and I just completely forgot. Part of your story is all of the brain surgeries that you've been through. Tell our listeners how many brain surgeries you've had.
Yes, I have had 44 brain surgeries in my whole entire life.
And you just turned 25 recently.
Yes, ma'am. I
So
did.
44 brain surgeries in 25 years. That is amazing. How do you keep your spirits up, Mary?
I focus on one thing at a time so I don't get so overwhelmed at every task I have.
Mhm. I love that.
That really gets me through the day.
I love it. Well, you have an amazing story, Mary. Do you get nervous when you talk? Because I know you're talking to some elementary school kids and they're asking you about your shunt, and those are easy questions for you to ask. But you also speak to congressmen and you speak to CEOs and chairmen
Yeah.
of big companies, and you are an advocate for individuals with disability. What does it mean to be an advocate? What does that mean to you?
I get that question all the time. Advocate means to me it just like sticking up for yourself and like when you speak from the heart and like what you want and what you don't want to do, just tell your story and just like an advocate is just like something you really want to achieve. And like, I really wanted to be an advocate for people with disabilities because I knew there was a need for it.
Right. And you have done an amazing job. Your story has inspired not only me and Mia, but it has inspired hundreds, probably thousands of students across the country in the Southeast. I know. What's the farthest place you've traveled to speak? So you're not just speaking in Alabama.
California, I think.
Yeah. So just for our listeners, just so you know, we've got a very sought after speaker on our hands here. The last thing I want to talk about because this podcasting thing is new for me. You know that. And this is my first podcast. But you also have a podcast, Mary. Tell our listeners about their podcast and where they can find you and listen to your podcast.
So I am doing it with Alt of Alabama. I think you can go to their website and look at my podcast with them.
Okay.
From the website.
Okay. So we're going to make sure that we have all of the links to all of the amazing things that you're doing. And I'm going to ask your mom later if we could. I'm sure there are videos. Do people ever video you? Does your mom ever video giving speeches?
She takes pictures. I think sometimes other people videotape me. It just depends on the scenario and the speech.
Okay. Well, Mary, we're going to make sure that on our podcast that we link the Arc of Alabama, and so our listeners can go find your podcast over there. And I hope that you will also do the same for our SLP Full Disclosure podcast. We're going to also link your YouTube videos. Your mom was talking about the advocacy and how important it is, just in the YouTube video that you did on hiring individuals with disabilities. And I remember that one. It is super funny and it is super informative and it is just amazing because, Mary, you are amazing.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, sweetheart. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Mary, thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking time out of your busy work schedule and engagements to join us on SLP Full Disclosure. We're going to have all the links below so that you guys can get to know Mary a little bit more and a little bit more about her story. And if you guys have any questions for Mary, I'm going to say it again. You can go over to our SLP Full Disclosure TikTok and maybe drop a line over there if you've got a specific question for Miss Mary White. But you guys have a wonderful day, and we will talk to y'all soon. Thank you for tuning in to SLP Full Disclosure. You can learn more about this episode and our show on our website at amnhealthcare.com. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend and subscribe to our show on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find show updates and SLP opportunities on our Instagram at AMN Allied. Special thanks to AMN Healthcare for making this show possible. See y'all next time.